Hey, so I'm here again, Reverend Kumpo, Wanu Yogi, Sister Mama Adia. And I wanted to share a story that I'm going to talk about, I'm sure, again. There's when I was younger and people would ask, even now, ask, what do I do? How do I get started? The advice that I'm sure you have heard from other people too is to just get started and the road comes up to meet you. So um, I'm starting, even though it's probably not going to be the cleanest and best put together story, but I wanted to share this story. I have, I'm in a blended family. So we have a total of six children. I gave birth to three. So my oldest is 17. My next one is 15. My youngest is 12. And all three of them were born at home. Um, there are many things in the news about how doctors are not trained to trust Black women when we tell them about our bodies, how Black women are trained against trusting our bodies, and people in general are taught not to trust their bodies, but that's even worse for us. There's a saying that says something like, if everyone else is in a rainstorm, Black folks are drowning. And that may not be exactly how it goes, but it's something to that effect. So when I was expecting my third child, and there's a lot of things that happen, and nothing is coincidence, and timing is everything. And the people that you are dealing with have their own stories, and often they are not able to separate their story from your story, which makes it difficult. It's one thing when it's empathy, it's another thing when it's fear and a difficulty to separate in order to honor your, or in this case, my unique space. When I was getting ready to give birth to my son, his birthday is close to my sister's birthday. So, an aside, it's not really an aside because it's connected. My sister passed while I was carrying, was it him? I'm trying to remember which baby it was. I think it was him while I was carrying him. And so her birthday, her very next birthday, of course, uh, past her transition, was when he was arriving. Excuse me. So I had already had two children at home, had already gone through, giving birth at home and resting at home and nursing at home and all those different things. When it came time to give birth to him, my mother, who has always been amazingly supportive, very soft, very loving, the person who has shown me what wonder in the world looks like, um, she's childlike in her excitement about things. And she is also a person who wants things to be in a certain way to protect the people around her. But in this instance, I think she was just leaking her own pain. So when he was coming, and I said, well, we're going to give birth at home. And if the girls are, who are little, they were toddlers, if they're capable, they can come in and watch and be born. Told her about the stories we had given the midwife who here in our town or region is very well known and has delivered mothers and daughters and mothers and sons. She has delivered generations of children. Had given us storybooks that I read with the children, with my daughters. The daughters had drawn pictures and anticipation of the baby's birth. We didn't know the sex of any child before they showed up, of the baby's birth. And so I remember my mother being uncharacteristically sharp and angry about everything that could go wrong before my son's birth. What are you going to do about this? And and it's way out of character for her. So I was like, "Ooh, okay, let me stop talking to her at this moment," which is not something I'm good at. I just when you've been taught to be respectful, you just kind of stand there and take it. And when she got to that, once we got off the phone, I was kind of like, "Woo, that was weird. What is that?" So here's the connection. When I had my first child at home, my father expressed his anxiety about her being born. Nothing but smiles and joy when she got here, but expressed his anxiety. When my mother gave birth to me, and I'm her firstborn, when she gave birth to me, she this is in the 1970s, late 1970s, and she had placenta previa. The placenta had separated when I was in utero, and I was born early. I was born about 2 months early. Hmm, yeah, it's 2 months. That's 2 months. So when she was feeling some kind of way, both she and my father were working, both working professionals, feeling some kind of way in her seventh month of pregnancy. She called the doctor. She called my father, who was at work. She headed home. The doctors dismissed what she was saying. She was talking about the pain she was in. She even, because we feel like we need to do everything, stopped off to pick up some, like, when things were made well, some heavy, I want to say silverware or something that was very heavy and nice. And the only way for her to get it to her car was to balance it against her pregnant belly, get into the car, open the car, sit down in the car, drive home. She gets home. The doctors had told her that whatever she was feeling wasn't that serious. Just come into the office. No, I think I should go to the hospital. Nope, just come into the office. So she calls my daddy from work, and she had changed her clothes. She had bled a whole lot. And at this point, they had one of those closets that you walk through to get to the bathroom, and blood was all through the closet headed to the bathroom. So when he gets home, he's terrified. He doesn't even see her when he gets home because she has now attempted to get to the office on her own. And thank goodness, community, which is something you'll hear a lot about on this station. One of her girlfriends on this channel station. See how old I am. This channel. One of her girlfriends made her leave her car somewhere. Met her wherever this was, a gas station, I believe, and drove her the rest of the way. So now she's at the doctor's office and she's still telling them, I think I'm making a mess of myself. I really need to see the doctor, and they're dismissing her. And she has been trained like I have been trained, that you're a good girl and you sit still and you wait your turn, and you've already made it known. And the expectations that other people are caring for you in the same way that you would give care to those people, but that is not always the case. So she's sitting there. My father arrives and he demands that she sees a doctor. They take her back into a regular doctor's office, examining her, and she is bleeding. She is hemorrhaging. So now they rush her to the doctor, to the labor and delivery ward. And they're telling my father the whole time that he could lose both his wife and his child, and his unborn child. So, understanding all of this, I can see why my father was anxious about me giving birth at home the first time. I can also see, after my mother's loss of my sister, how me bringing my son into the world so close to the first birthday following her transition was so very difficult. So, even in sharing stories, there's a place we have to get to where you can honor your own story. I'll speak from both sides. For me, where I had to honor my story and my desire to bring this healthy baby boy into the world and at home with just the arms of his father, the midwife, and the doula present. Just a very small incubation, a small cocoon around him to give him that peace and quiet to emerge, and his sisters. So I don't know how quiet it was, but and his sisters to come into the world and consider the trauma that my parents went through at the hands of people who were supposed to be caregivers for my mother, for my father, as they expected their first child, to be sensitive to my mother's grieving after the loss of her third child. So even as I know stories are power, and your story is power, and my story is power, and my parents' stories are power, and as my son and my daughters grow up, these stories will be attached to what they make their own stories and its power. And so I just wanted to share that in the way of there's still something good to pull out of all of these things. to be able to get back enough, to step back enough, and to protect yourself, to still move forward where you are moving forward, to still honor the stories of those around you, and to allow it all to be uplifting, even when it hurts. Because even when it hurts, there's a place to get still and honor that what someone else is giving to you out of their story is not necessarily a reflection of your story that you're moving forward in. And so, even to this day, I'm very grateful. My parents have been wonderful grandparents. My children have enjoyed their grandparents, and they are still, even in being grandparents and grand older elders, there are still new parents in there. There are still new parents in those wise hands um, who are awaiting their first baby. There's still older parents and those elders who lost their last baby. So, this work of stories and pulling out the magic and pulling out the power is exciting and creative and um, challenging and vulnerable, raw, exposing, so many things. And it's, as Evelyn Dudiemi would say, it's alchemy. You are turning. I can't even say something that's not good into something great, but you are turning something that's great into something greater. So just remember that as you're telling stories, as you're uh, letting my stories resonate with you, and finding your power in your story. So, okay, again, this is Reverend Komfo Malamu Yogi, Sister Mama Adia. I'll see you next time. Peace.